like, again, like, what do we do if this comes up, or what do we do with this? Again, like, that's something that really nobody has been prepared. I mean, I've tried to prepare people as best I could, but again, nobody's ever been in that decision of making really any single decision with 4chan except myself in almost 11 and a half years. And so, I'm sure things will change somewhat, but it's hard to say how. And again, I think it's too soon to tell if it'll be for better or worse, and we'll just have to kind of play it by ear. Again, I have a vested interest in the site not sucking, because I do I do use the site on a daily basis. I have for as many people, again, going back to that first question, are you out of touch? Again, like, my interests have changed over the years, but I really actually use 4chan every day, and I have for I am the longest running user of 4chan. I mean, I've been using it since day one, since post one. So I'd be really sad if I couldn't browse O and a few other I actually do browse A, despite the fact that they yell at me all the time, but and S4S and whatnot. So I mean, I would be sad if I couldn't browse the sports anymore, if they change dramatically. So I hope for the most part that nothing changes for the worse. Are you currently working on any new projects? If so, can you elaborate? Number 63. I'm not. There's actually one idea that I've had. I've avoided startups like the plague for the past year, since my kind of almost my PTSD from my last one. Now I'm out of that. I've had a year to kind of to decompress, but I don't really have anything I'm working on right now. There's one idea that I have, but it's more of like an open source project, and so to the extent that I actually work on it and or release it, then you can expect to see it as an open source project, probably, most likely. So, but no, I guess I have to figure out what the hell I'm going to do with myself going forwards. Now that 4chan won't be my, kind of one of my primary focuses. And again, 4chan has never been a full-time job for me. It's never, it's just never been a job. I mean, it's never been my primary focus. I was either in high school, or I was in college, or I was working for other companies. I had my own company. It's 4chan has always been kind of a labor of love and kind of a hobby of mine. And I think the one thing, or one of the things I'll miss the most about 4chan is it's kind of as much or as little work as just to have a project that kind of has an infinite laundry list. I mean, we have a to-do tracking what do you call it, like a software. And it's just got hundreds and hundreds of tasks, and I'm always adding little bugs, little features, or stuff like that, or QAing something, and basically driving our developer nuts. But it's actually like really incredible to have a project that you can kind of invest time in. And so I think that's one of the things I'll miss the most, is just having something to kind of invest myself in. Number 626, you say that 4chan is easily one of the greatest communities to ever grace the web. However, it is widely accepted as one of the biggest shitholes on the internet, especially with gusto by its own members. How do you reconcile creating and helping to survive a place where boards such as B and Pol serve as home bases for some of the world's worst people to come praise and relish in one another's vile bigotry and deviant, socially destructive predilections with your relatively recently discovered identity as a social justice warrior? I meant what I said. I think it is one of, it's, it's a fact. It's a statement of fact. I mean, it is one of the largest and greatest and most kind of, storied, communities to ever grace the web and possibly, ever. I mean, it really is awesome. And again, for as much as we've had our detractors over the years, or, as a community, as a site, I think 4chan has done far more good than bad. Because, if you look at the stats, I mean, we've served a billion people according to Google Analytics over, those stats are actually not a full 11 and a half years. Those are only about 8 or so years. I think we started, those stats are from March 2008 or March 2009 onward to now. And so the site, and let's just say Google, is full of shit, but it's not a billion and it's 300 million or something like that, right? But the fact is, hundreds of millions of people have used 4chan, in some capacity, in some fashion, for minutes, hours, days, whatever. I would say there at least have been more than 100 million kind of dedicated users over the past 10 years, and for those people, 4chan is a really important to them. I mean, for a lot of people, it functions as kind of their place. It's not, it's not home, it's not work, it's not, not school, and it's a place where they go to, blow off steam, or, I mean, I think, one of the things that actually really kept me going over the years is, it kind of helped me survive burnout was, the fact that, again, for as many nasty emails as I'll get, for all, the multitude of reasons over the past 10 years, every single interaction I've ever had with somebody in person has always been very positive. And for the most part, they just say, hey, thanks for 4chan, because it really helped me at this time in my life where I kind of needed help. I was in high school and was kind of going through a rough patch, or I was, going through a breakup, or, was miserable at work, or I was, procrastinating for finals or something like that. I mean, there are all these, essentially every single person I've met in person, who's come up to me on the street, which, happens probably a few times a month, has just said that. And so I think knowing that that's the experience that the vast majority of people have with 4chan, is a very positive one. And I think, for the most part, the fact that 4chan has kind of helped, 100, plus million people kind of get through their day, I think, for the most part, the greater good has kind of been served. And, 4chan obviously has this negative reputation, as this question alluded to, and, some of it is deserved, but I think actually a lot of it is not. Obviously, B and now I guess Poll kind of are the kind of lightning rods of sorts, and that's where a lot of people kind of, they kind of represent the most extreme portions of the site, and that's where a lot of people kind of draw on and base their conclusions off of. But again, they represent just a fraction of the site and the community, and the contents that posted. And when you look at boards like A and PO, which like nobody uses, but it's like, most people use 4chan to discuss their hobbies, right? Their kind of shared interests with a bunch of strangers who they have at least one thing in common with, and that's kind of boring, right? And so that's kind of like not this sexy story, and that's not what the media will cover. That's not what, as you said, these social justice warriors and people who are kind of 4chan's detractors, I mean, that's not the story that they'll tell, because it's nowhere near as interesting as, again, talking about how /B is, a boogeyman of the moment. And so again, I think the boring truth is that, again, 4chan is a pretty tame and actually very positive community for most people. And one other kind of, I think, interesting note about why 4chan has that kind of bad reputation is that, for example, 4chan is really very unique in that it's one of the only kind of platforms, I guess you could say, on the web that enables any person, regardless of their following or, whatever, to get a message in front of thousands of people, right? If you want to post Moot is a cuck, to one of the boards to say B, you can do that. And you can get that message in front of, you can inform thousands of people of my fetishes and whatnot. And, you can get that message in front of, because we basically don't pre-screen comments except for, banned MD5s and spam keywords and stuff like that. And so, almost any person on the entire internet can reach an audience of thousands to tens of thousands of people with, a few mashing their keyboard and the click of their mouse. And that's incredible. I mean, there really aren't any other platforms on the internet that enable that to that degree. I mean, you have communities obviously like Reddit, our favorite, that, sure, you can get something in front of a lot of people on Reddit if you get on the front page, but again, what percentage of content makes it there? And it requires, again, upvoting and karma and all this, kind of, the hierarchy bullshit, and whatnot, whereas 4chan is kind of completely egalitarian in that sense. And again, other platforms like, say Twitter, again, if you want to get a message in front of people on Twitter, you have to have a lot of followers. How do you get a lot of followers? You have to have influence. On YouTube, if you upload a video on YouTube, 5 people will see it unless you have some way of getting in front, say on the front page, or again, and that usually requires you already have a following. And so, 4chan is really the only website, I would say, on the entire internet that, affords you an opportunity to get a message in front of just a gajillion people without anything, right? Without, building that following, and again, that was the beauty, I guess, of anonymous, posting. Well, I mean, that's what I've given talks about, contrary to everybody screaming about free speech. I mean, my point in all of my talks, and again, verbatim, basically quoting myself, is that, again, anonymous speech, enables people to, to be equal, to say things that they might not otherwise be comfortable sharing on a platform with identity. And so that coupled with an ability to